Hello everyone and welcome back to A Diary of a Teenage Dreamer. I'm your host Jessica and today I'm going to be discussing university and my future plans. I apologize for my sore throat, but I seem to have a cold that I just really can't seem to kick. So without further ado, let's get started. So for those old and new who do not know, I have always really been set on becoming a doctor. Nothing like a surgeon really, but from the get-go I really wanted to be like a pathologist because I always grew up watching crime shows, and so forensic pathology was always just a part of my life from that point of view. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's not quite the same. Yes, I know, Mary. However, I do know the difference between fiction and reality, contrary to popular belief. Okay, and I do know that the A&E setting is very different, in fact, to The Pit and Grey's Anatomy. So yes, I do know it's different. However, I do my research on top of that. And after doing my research, I found out multiple different routes to get into the medical field. And I did this personally because I didn't have very good GCSE grades or A-level grades. As far as my GCSE grades went, I didn't get above a 7 in any of my GCSEs, and I did pass all 9 of them, okay? Which, considering my circumstances, was quite impressive because I was chronically ill the entire time. Then we have A-levels, and I dropped one of my A-levels and I was planning to pick up sociology, but they wouldn't let me. So I needed 2 A-levels and an EPQ, okay? And I got 2 C's in my A-levels and I got an A in my EPQ. And like I said, I was chronically ill. I'm still chronically ill. I'm not was. I'm still chronically ill. So considering the fact that I'm chronically ill, those grades are quite phenomenal, but they're not doctor level standards. So while I was doing my research, I came across this pathway, which is graduate entry medicine, okay? And this pathway is a pathway that people can take who, if they've graduated with like a bachelor's degree in science or a master's, they can go and they can do medicine. So I was like, I think this is going to be the path for me because it's going to give me a couple more years to sort of settle into university and make sure that this is what I want to do with my career. So I personally decided to do a bachelor's degree of science in biomedical science. When they're like, are you sure you want to go to medical school? You know, it's really tough to get into. Yes, Melissa, I have in fact planned this out, okay? I know I do things impulsively, but this is not one of those. Because contrary to popular belief, I am actually intelligent. Mentally ill, but I'm also intelligent, okay? So, by hell or high water, I will get into medical school. And when I do, I will literally be like, I told you so. Okay, and it'll be like, doctor, okay? Not miss, not Mrs., but doctor. Okay, and I will be able to prove that lecturer wrong who told me, oh, are you sure you want to apply to medical school? It's really tough. Like, my daughter, she found it really challenging to apply to medical school. Your daughter got into medical school, okay? She might have worked hard. I can work hard. Why can't I get into medical school? Exactly, Sarah. And I currently like my degree. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but like I said earlier in the video, I just finished my first year. And first year is typically not the most exciting year because it's like introductory. And the university I go to, I'm not gonna say the name because privacy reasons, I do not want to be stalked. I do not need that on my mind. But I do biomedical science, and it's a good degree, okay? And biomedical science itself can lead to its own jobs within like laboratories, and you can go on to different pathways from there, and it is its own speciality, okay? You don't have to go into medicine. However, I do, and this sort of degree is perfect for going into medicine, okay? Because it has all the prerequisites, and obviously you still need like experience in hospitals and stuff, but as far as like the biochemistry, the anatomy and physiology, everything is there, as far as I'm aware, to get into graduate entry medicine. Granted, I do still have to get a 2-1 at least in my degree, which I am very hopeful that I can get. Like, I'm aiming for a first, obviously, but 2-1 is like the bare minimum. And then the universities that I'm aiming to go to are mostly in the UK and Ireland. So there's RCSI, which is the Royal College of Surgeons Ireland, and that's like my top choice. Okay, that's the one that I want to go to. It is a 4-year degree course. They're typically graduate entry medicine courses are typically shorter than regular medicine courses because you've already had like the background degree, so typically only 4 years instead of 5 or 6. Sometimes they're 5 and sometimes they're 6. It really does depend on the university, but for RCSI it is a 4-year degree, which is why it's my top choice, because I'll finish this degree when I'm 21, and by 25 I want my medical degree if possible. So that's why RCSI is my top choice. And on top of that, I really like RCSI because it's Ireland and I think it's in Dublin. I'm not sure how busy Dublin is as a city, but I've never been there, but I do think it would be quieter somewhat than London, which leads me on to my next choice, which is KCL, okay? And King's College London is in London, the centre of London, and the prices are extortionate, okay? I don't have that much money, okay? I really don't. And also, London's a very, very busy place, okay? And as someone who comes from a busy city, they're not for me, okay? Where I currently study for university, perfect. It's like the perfect mix between rural and like big city. It's like the connections with the buses, excellent, the shops nearby, and there's like enough places that you can go to that you feel like you're still immersed in the community, but it's not like a bustling metropolis. So I really like where my current university is, but it doesn't do medicine. So I'm gonna have to go to either RCSI or London, or I could go to one in Europe. Now, if I did go to one in Europe, I know I hate when people say, oh, Europe, like it's a country. It's not, I understand that, but for the purposes of this, I can't decide between going to like Hungary or Italy or Spain for medical school. Because in Europe, they have substantially cheaper medical schools. So, we really just have to weigh up the pros and cons. So, my other option, if I did go to Europe, it would be Italy. Okay, I have looked at universities in Italy, and despite the fact that I do not have an EU passport, I do think it would still be substantially cheaper than going to a university in England, which, you know, I don't want to move that far away from home because it turns out I actually do like living at home. So we've got to figure out that situation. But in terms of money, I need to figure out how to make some money over the next couple years, because this summer I'm going to Canada. I'm going to explain in another video what I'm doing in Canada, because that in itself is a whole crazy debacle, but we will get into that in this video. But my plans for the future is finish year 1, done that. I've just got 2 assessments left, 1 assignment to submit, and then done, dusted. Then Canada this summer, hopefully that goes through. I will be spending extortionate amounts to get there and stay there and do everything I want to, but like I said, that's another video. Then, year 2 starts, I have to have a job. Okay, some sort of job. Lifeguarding, working in Primark, working in a coffee shop, working in a hospital, something. I need a job in 2nd year, okay? And I'll carry that job throughout, hopefully, the summer of 27, okay? And throughout the summer of 27, I'm also going to be doing the UCAT or GMAT. Depending on which one I decide to revise for, I'll probably do the GMAT because it seems easier than the UCAT. I've seen the UCAT, it's horrific. Kudos to everyone who does well on that, but that sounds like hell to me as somebody who is chronically misreading things. And no, I'm not dyslexic. I'm just really slow and also a chronic misreader. So GMAT next summer, that one's gonna take a lot of practice, and next summer I have to prepare for applying to medical school. And the reason why I really want to go to medical school, on top of all my previous reasons, is also because I've become obsessed with the pit. that does have some sort of addition to why I want to go to medical school, because I was like, I want to be an emergency doctor because of The Pit, and then I started watching 24 Hours in A&E. That show, you know what, maybe A&E is not for me. Okay, as somebody who's on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, maybe A&E is not for me. However, pathology is still an option, and I'm still going to go to medical school because I want to be like Mr. or Mrs. Doctor. I could be a doctor and prove everyone wrong. So for that is like a really positive reason for me to go to medical school, but I have to figure out a way to finance it, because I did not come from a wealthy middle class family. Might be middle class, not wealthy. So that is my little life update on what's been going on with me and where I want to go in the future. I really hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe.